At the Valdai Discussion Club in Sochi earlier this month, Russian President Vladimir Putin addressed questions on NATO's expansion and specifically mentioned Finland and Sweden. Putin said Russia never had problems with either country before, but their decision to join NATO had changed the security balance in Europe. He described the move as unnecessary and accused the West of provoking tensions in the Baltic and Arctic regions.
We had no more standing issues. We know that Sweden had a different figure of Charles II, and perhaps he was killed by his own people because he was trying to involve Turkey in another war with Russia. But that was long ago, centuries ago. What kind of issues did we have with Finland? There were no issues. Everything was resolved. All the agreements were signed following the Second World War. So what was the purpose? Were they trying to benefit from the strategic defeat of Russia?
Putin went on to warn that Moscow would respond to NATO's presence on its borders with new military measures. He said Russia would establish additional formations in the northwest region bordering Finland.
Now the border between Russia and NATO is growing bigger. We had no armed forces in that part of Russia, but now we have to create separate military areas. Finland said, "We will not allow the emergence of arms that is dangerous to Russia, especially nuclear arms." Who the hell knows? Who exactly will ask the Finns for their opinion when making those decisions? I don't want to offend anyone, but I know how those decisions are made. Just leave it be. And what will this lead? Did you hit the hole? Now you will respond for that, so let's station the complexes over there. They will be responsible for this and that.
Putin's comments at Valdai made clear that Finland's entry into NATO has shifted Russia's military planning. He implied Moscow could deploy new complexes, a reference many analysts interpreted as tactical or missile systems near the Finnish border. That was the message from Sochi. Today, the response came from Washington. At the White House, US President Donald Trump met Finnish President Alexander Stubb and Prime Minister Petteri Orpo. The meeting focused on Arctic cooperation, NATO security, and the impact of the war in Ukraine. Trump used the occasion to announce a major icebreaker deal and to reaffirm Washington's commitment to Finland's defense.
I would, yes, I would. They're a member of NATO. I would. They're great people, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he's going to do that. I think the chances of that are very, very small. But it's very interesting because you have a very big military relative to your size. You have a very powerful military, one of the best. And but certainly we will be there to help. Vigorously.
Trump's statement was a direct reassurance under Article 5 of the NATO treaty. Finland, which formally joined NATO last year, shares a 1,300-kilometer border with Russia, now the alliance's longest land boundary with Moscow. During the meeting, Stubb announced a joint US-Finland program to build 11 new icebreakers, calling it both an industrial and strategic partnership.
Well, basically building 11 icebreakers together, 4 of them in Finland, in joint endeavors, and then 7 of them here. I think this is a huge strategic decision by the President as well, because we all know that the Arctic is important strategically, militarily, and in terms of the economy as well. And now we can work on this together.
Prime Minister Petteri Orpo linked Finland's economic struggles directly to the war in Ukraine and described Russia's behavior on the border as aggressive.
As a Prime Minister of Finland, I want to say that this deal is very important to Finland and our economy, because our economy is suffering a lot because of Russian aggression in Ukraine. And this deal, it means investments, it means jobs, and jobs means hope, and that's why this is so important.
Orpo also accused Moscow of pushing migrants toward Finnish territory, forcing his government to shut crossings along the shared border.
We have to close the border with Russia. We have 1,300 kilometers common border with them, and affects the atmosphere in Finland, in investments, and that's why we need good news. Our people need hope. Yes, they started to push illegal migrants to our border. That's why we were forced to close it.
In his remarks, Stubb detailed Finland's defense readiness, calling it one of the strongest in Europe, and acknowledged Trump's push for higher NATO defense spending.
We have managed our relationship since the 1300s with about 30 skirmishes, but it's been very peaceful at our border after World War II. Yeah, but it's been peaceful at our border since the Winter War and the War of Continuation. But I mean, a lot of it is because we actually have a very large military. It's the biggest in Europe, together with Turkey, Ukraine, and Poland. We have over 60 F-18s. We just bought 64 F-35s. We'll roll out the first one in Texas in December. We have the biggest artillery in Europe, together with Poland. And as I always say, we don't have it because we're worried about Stockholm.
From Sochi to Washington, the sequence of statements underscores a growing divide. Putin warns new military deployments on Finland's border. Trump says the United States will defend Finland vigorously. Stubb calls Russia weakened, while Orpo describes its actions as aggressive and destabilizing. Finland, once Europe's neutral mediator, now sits at the center of the NATO-Russia confrontation. And with Ukraine talks showing no progress, the Northern Front is no longer theoretical. It is active and widening.